Well, thank you, Samir, Cynthia, Denise, and Hillary. I hope it was helpful for the audience to hear more about our efforts and initiatives to protect and educate investors and foster capital formation. Uh, it's now my pleasure to take a moment to reflect on our day together before we move into our reception. I'd like to start by thanking you, our audience, for attending and participating at ASC Connect 2025. This event is a unique opportunity to bring together market participants, academics, entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and ASC leaders to discuss the most important topics impacting our market. I hope you found the sessions informative and that you had an opportunity to connect with others. I'd also like to thank our speakers, moderators, and panelists. Insightful remarks and panel discussions um, enable thought-provoking conversations. Each session today certainly gave me food for thought, and I hope it was the same for you. Some of the key takeaways for me were going to the first panel, the fireside chat with David and Kathleen. So much has evolved in securities regulation since the last edition of Canadian securities regulation. The textbook was published in 2014. Biggest areas of change have been an increased focus on investor protection, technology impacts, and we talked a lot about that today, corporate governance, and the increasing popularity of investing in the private markets and perhaps less so in our public markets. But perhaps for me, what most stood out about the first discussion was how privileged I felt, and I hope you felt as well, to hear David's views on the challenges our country is facing and his call to action, a wake-up call for all of us to step up and face the challenge ahead, in his words, in our Canadian way. The panel on technology in our capital markets and how regulators can respond was certainly insightful. The pace of innovation is rapid, and it's global in nature. World's not waiting for Canada. As regulators, the ASC must collaborate with our regulatory counterparts to deliver a timely, coordinated, and intelligent regulatory framework. And I can't help but refer to two very memorable words that Michael Tom used. And Ryan, you might bring these back to the CSA when you're talking to the task force about what we should do. One of the things that I recall Michael saying was that there are a lot of engineers in Alberta who know how to figure things out. So in his view, a lot of things that we're grappling with are figure outable, okay? Figure outable. And secondly, to deal with the kind of inertia of getting consensus, we have to de-sludgify our processes. So those are very memorable terms, Michael, and I'm sure Ryan will take that back to the CSA on your behalf. We then had Lynn's panel on investors and how we support them as their needs change over time. And that was very insightful. You know, I think so often we tend to label investors as retail, and we forget that within that class, there are so many different groups of investors at different stages of their life with different needs. It is so important for all of us to work together to help grow financial literacy and address systemic issues that impact Canadians' ability to grow their wealth and live independently later into life. And I thought particularly hearing how Wealthsimple is offering solutions for DIY investors was particularly refreshing, and to hear Andy Mitchell's perspectives on how SEAM is contributing as well, and not to mention Laura, who participated virtually on CanAge in the senior community. I very much appreciated Minister Hodgson's remarks. He certainly shared messages that are relevant to all of us. And I do look forward, like I think a lot of you do, to seeing how his team's work at Energy Mines and Resources Canada enhances outcomes for Alberta and all of Canada. Minister Hodgson's remarks were certainly relevant to the panel moderated by Deborah. I very much appreciated their thoughtful discussion on what we all need to do to help Alberta realize its potential. And you know, one of the things that I will not forget is when Peter was asked the question, well, what do you think the folks in the bureaucracy in Ottawa were going to do? He took us back and said, there's too much of this. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? And it's more about what we need to do and our politicians need to hear so that they will do what they need to do. And I thought that was particularly insightful, in addition to all of the other wonderful conversation we had in that panel. And then certainly the last panel, the ASC leadership group, and hearing about the things that they're doing to educate and protect investors and to foster a thriving market. I think this real-time poll on semi-annual reporting was an interesting one, given it was announced today, and let's see how that comment period unfolds. As some of you will know, Alberta is one of the most important capital markets in Canada, and at the ASC, we're taking action in a variety of ways. We monitor local and global trends and consider possible implications for our market as we implement our strategic plan, and we're establishing a new plan, a new 3-year plan, and we look forward to putting that out shortly, which will kind of be our moral compass, or our compass, I should say, or North Star for the next 3 years. At the ASC, we strive to reduce regulatory burden where possible, to ensure we continue to foster competitiveness, innovation, and promote market efficiency for the benefit of our capital markets. Through collaboration, we harmonize regulation by working closely with other securities regulators across Canada. As a member of the Canadian Securities Administrators, and I'm pleased and privileged to serve as chair of the CSA. And I'm delighted, actually, we have some folks from the Secretariat with us today. Jessica and Ilana, thanks for coming all the way from Montreal to be with us here today, and hopefully you can stay for the cocktail reception as well. Our regulatory work is complemented by our continued effort to protect investors and market integrity through effective compliance, oversight, disruption, enforcement, and education, which you learned a bit more about earlier today. And we believe in industry and stakeholder engagement through a variety of avenues, including events like today, and by forming advisory committees with experts from our Alberta market. ASC Connect is about fostering important conversations, which are critical for us to remain a practical and intelligent regulator. If you have questions or input, we encourage you to keep an open dialogue with us. Now, this afternoon, you're going to receive a short survey via email about ASC Connect. Please consider sharing your feedback about today's event, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts. One final thanks. I'd like to really thank the ASC event and the Hudson teams. You all did a terrific job planning, hosting, and keeping us on track. Could you all please join me in a final round of applause for our speakers, panelists, your engagement, and our event and venue teams. And now we're ready to host you just outside these doors for a cocktail reception. I hope you'll be able to join us. Thank you.